idea first, or
Yes. Yes.
just like, hey Kickstarter,
How
I
many
want to do
Kickstarters have
something.
you made?
Give me an idea.
I have done 4.
What were they?
We did House of the Blood of Wilderness. We did The War, the second episode of The War. John Wick Presents. We did Wicked Fantasy, and we've done Wheel as 4 Kickstarters. All 4 were successful Kickstarters. 2 of them were marginally successful, and 2 of them were wildly successful. And the thing about Kickstarter is that there's these 2 guys, these 2 loser guys by the name of Mike Curry and Rob Justice, who kept encouraging me, and by encouraging me I mean bullying me, into doing a Kickstarter.
Oh yeah,
It was bullying.
it was John is stupid for not doing this.
Yeah. And for me, it always felt like Kickstarter, without knowing anything, because I didn't know anything about it, felt like e-begging. That's how it felt like to me. It felt like e-begging. And then I met a guy named Mark Diaz Truman.
Well, then you did e-begging. You did Aegis Project.
I did Aegis Project e-begging.
Which is what really set Mike and I off into bullying you.
Yeah. I did a project called the Aegis Project, which was somebody went on my Facebook page and said I would pay money for John Wick to design an 80s style big robot game. And I went, how much money? And I did my own kind of private funding thing for it, and I raised a lot of money for it, and I was very surprised. And however, the other element of it was that after that, I had met a guy named Mark Diaz Truman who said at RINCon, and we had breakfast. He said, "John, we should talk about Kickstarter." And I said, and he said, "Tell you what, I will buy you breakfast, and we will talk about Kickstarter." And I said, "Okay, fine." So free breakfast is free breakfast. So we sat down and we talked about it, and Mark Diaz Truman has a wonderful mind for economics and for project management. And he said, "Look, why don't we just do a Kickstarter? I will run it for you, and I will take a very small percentage. And if it doesn't kick, it doesn't kick, and it doesn't matter, and your hands clean." And I went, okay. So I decided to do the Wilderness source book for Houses of the Blooded because my friend Jess Heinig had just gotten very ill, and I decided to do it and use it as a project to not only do the book but to pay Jess for the writing, so that he would have money because he was going into the hospital for a very expensive surgery. And so I decided, if we're going to do this, I told Mark, if we're going to do this, we're going to pay Jess twice what the standard would be. And the standard in the game industry is around 2 to 5 cents. I try to pay 5 cents per word for all my writers. And I said, I'm paying Jess 10 because the point of this for me is to give Jess money. And I can justify that in my head. And he went, great. So we put the project together, and Mark and I jumped on Google Chat, and he went, okay, I'm sharing this Google Doc with you, which is this thing called a Spreadsheet, and I had never seen before. And maybe you've seen this. It's this magic thing that if you change a number in one square, it changes numbers in other squares. It's pretty cool. I'd never seen anything like that before. And then at the bottom of it, it had a word. And I've been working in the game industry for 20 years, and I had never seen this word before. And the word was profit. And I was like, what is this word? And he says, this is where you make money. And I went, that's adorable. That's so cute. You think I can make money off of this? And the number was not insignificant. And it wasn't, like $1 million, but I was like, oh, we could make that much money? He's like, yes. We could make more money if you don't pay Jess twice the thing, but I understand why we're doing that. But I just want to show you that under a normal Kickstarter project, that if we weren't, using this to raise money to help Jess pay for his surgery, this is what the profit would look like. And I went, whoa, that's a lot more. And he was like, yes, but we're not going to see that. And he turned it off. It's like, okay. So we did the Wilderness Kickstarter project, and it was successful. And I put together a video for it and all that kind of stuff. And I went, oh, this works. Oh wow. And he said, yes. What are we going to do next? And I said, oh, well, let's do Wicked Fantasy next. And so we did Wicked Fantasy, and that made a lot of money. And then we did The War, and that didn't break even, but it kicked. It kicked well enough. And then we did Wield, and that just went right through the roof. And so Kickstarter, it worked. And the reason that it worked is because I know how to make games, and Mark knows how to project manage. And the key to Kickstarter is that if you are not Mark, you need me, and if you are me, you need Mark. That is the kicker. If you are running a Kickstarter project, I can tell you all kinds of experiences about working with artists and hiring artists and hiring a layout person and hiring an editor and getting playtesters to playtest your game and all these other kinds of things. I can tell you all about that. But if you want to know how Kickstarter works, you need to hire Mark Diaz-Truman. And if you can't hire him, if you can't hire a guy who has a degree in economics from Harvard, then you need a guy who has a degree in economics from Harvard who isn't Mark Diaz-Truman. You need that guy. If you do not have that guy, your Kickstarter will fail. Period. I see so many Kickstarters that are just dumb. Done by people who are very enthusiastic, and they may have a brilliant game, but they have no idea how or why Kickstarter works. And if you don't know how or why Kickstarter works, it won't work, and your project won't kick. And it's little things. It's things that I would have never considered that Mark said, you have to do this, and made a list for me. Here are the things that you have to do, John, so that our Kickstarter can work. And it's things like when you release your Kickstarter, there's a day of the week, a day of the month, that is the best day of the week and day of the month to start your Kickstarter. And why? Because Mark has looked through hundreds of Kickstarter projects and has evaluated the data and gone, the most successful Kickstarter projects tend to be released on the second week of the month, on Tuesday, and end on a Sunday. And these days are wrong. I don't remember what they are because Mark knows what they are, and that's his job. It's not my job to know that. It's his job to know that. So he tells me when the most successful Kickstarters are. And so we do that. I do what he tells me. I ask questions why, and then he gives me really good answers, and I go, oh, well, that makes sense. We should do that. And he says, this is how long your Kickstarter should last. Why? Because the most successful Kickstarters tend to last this long, and here's why. Okay, well, how much, how do we put together our stretch goals? How do we put together our rewards? Mark goes, here's how you put together stretch goals, here's how you put together rewards, and here's why. And occasionally I will say, what if we did it like this? And he will say, we should not do it like that. And here's why. And I will say, well, what if we, and very rarely I will say, what if we did this? And he'll go, that's a really good idea, we should do that. And here's why. And the second part of that answer, and here's why, is the most important one. Because like that spreadsheet that he put together for the projects that we did. Hi. Like that spreadsheet for the projects that we did, he was able to show me where the money was going, how it was being spent, and why that spending that money in that way was going to keep adding to that little profit thing at the bottom of the spreadsheet. And that was really, really important. So, to reiterate, because we have brand new people, thank you for coming. My name is John Wick. I write games, and I've done 4 successful Kickstarter projects. And in order for you to do a successful Kickstarter project, you need a guy who has an economics degree from Harvard, and his name is Mark Diaz-Truman. And you need to hire him. You can find him at magpiegames.com. And what you need, if you can't get him, you need a guy who has an economics degree from Harvard who can break down your project for you and show you how it works. Who has looked at hundreds of Kickstarter projects and has evaluated the ones that succeeded and the ones that failed, and can show you spreadsheets of these are the ones that failed and why, and these are the ones that succeeded and why, and ours is going to fall into this category. And I could tell you how, but essentially, Mark kind of falls into Clark's law, which is all sufficiently advanced technology looks like magic. And the way that Mark talks, it is magic for me, because I make games. That's what I do. This is my spot. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've been doing it for 20 years successfully. Mark has been doing project managing for years, and has gone to college for it, and is able to put together a spreadsheet and show you how things work. It's like opening a game store or opening a distribution network. And one of the reasons that the game industry for so long has been so dysfunctional is because it's run by gamers, and it's not run by businessmen. And it's not necessarily businessmen who are cutthroat bastards who are, no, it's run, the most successful companies are run by gamers who are businessmen. Gamers who went to school to be businessmen, who love games and understand how games work, right? So we get the combination of me, who writes games, and a combination of Mark, who knows how projects and how business works, and is able to break those down and make them work. Mark knew when to start the Kickstarter projects that I did. He knew what day to start them on, what month, what day. And he knew how long to make them last and how to end them, or when to end them. He knew how to do the stretch goals. He knew how to do all these things. And what's more is that he took the time to show me why. It's like, this is why this works. This is why this works. This is why this doesn't work. And we were able to go on Kickstarter and look at various Kickstarter projects, and I would look at them and intuitively understand there's something going on here. This is not going to kick. And he would say, that's exactly right. And I would say, okay, tell me why. And he would go through a huge list of reasons why this person didn't know what they were doing and why it wasn't going to work. I can tell you, kind of why, how that works, like how you structure stretch goals and how you structure rewards. I can tell you from my experience how we did that and broke that down. But what you need is a guy named Mark Diaz-Truman from magpiegames.com who will tell you and show you all of the things that make them work. You need someone who understands how and why Kickstarter works. And if you don't have that, you're throwing arrows in the dark. You're like, I hope this works. I hope this works. My forced Kickstarters worked because Mark came to me at a convention and said, John, you should do Kickstarter. I'll help you run your first one. And if you're happy with that, we'll continue doing it. He has run 2 of his own successful Kickstarters, 4 Kickstarters for me, another successful Kickstarter for my buddy Ben Warner. He's run another successful Kickstarter for somebody else. Essentially, Mark's job is running people's Kickstarters, including his own. It's becoming a job for him. And it's fine because he likes doing that job. He likes games. He loves games, and he loves working with people so that they can have games that work and that the Kickstarters that work. And so that really, when I was like, this seminar is going to be shorter than you setting it up, because my advice is to get yourself a guy named Mark Diaz-Truman. And if you can't get him, get a guy that's like him who will run your Kickstarter for you and be successful.
Does he have to be from Harvard?
Having an economics degree from Harvard helps.
Can it just be an economics degree?
Yeah, it can just be an economics degree. But I'm more than happy to take questions now.
So why Kickstarter? Knowing what you know now and having experienced 4 projects, is Kickstarter still the vehicle for what you'd like to do with crowdfunding?
Oh yeah, Kickstarter is the way of, from my point of view right now, Kickstarter is the future of publishing. Right?
Well, crowdfunding in general or specifically Kickstarter?
Crowdfunding in general. Kickstarter it's kind of like Kleenex is the branded tissue.
Right.
Kickstarter is the brand. Kickstarter and Indiegogo are the branded crowdfunding things, right? But Indiegogo is different because of the way the rules work and things like that. But yeah.
Similar to Kickstarter, what about platforms such as Patreon?
Patreon.
Where it's not so much getting exactly a large reward in the end for the funders, but helping support the artists continuously so they produce more content.
I have a Patreon project, which is a magazine. It's a sort of monthly magazine. And the way Patreon works, for those of you who don't know, is that I have a magazine and it comes out almost every month. It comes out about every 40 days, pretty much. And what happens is that you say, there's a minimum pledge of $2.99. And if you pay $2.99, what happens is when I come out with a magazine, you get charged $2.99. That's how Patreon works. And you can pledge more, right? And if you pledge more, then thank you. You're a patron. And that's some people pay $5 more, some people pay $20 per magazine. And hey, that's great. Thank you. But it's $2.99, and if you pay, and for every time I come out with something, you get charged. And you can control how often you get charged, you can cap it off, and it's all kinds of control things on it. And Patreon is, another interesting way. The thing about Patreon that caught me off guard and caught Mark out, because Mark has a Patreon project too, is that Patreon takes a much larger percentage of your pledges than Kickstarter does. A much larger, and so much so that I am currently reconsidering whether I want to do my magazine through Patreon because the percentage is so high. But that could change. There's been a lot of talk about among the Patreon people, like on there are forums for the type thing, and going, this really is kind of expensive. Can you guys consider, because Kickstarter is this and you guys are charging this.
I think that maybe if it continues to snowball, that
they might reconsider that. Yeah. But we'll see. It's their toy. They can take it home if they want. Right? So, any other Kickstarter questions? No? Not a one?
What about larger corporations doing Kickstarter? What are your thoughts upon that? Because you got a lot of people who come out with their fresh ideas or something, but I backed the Bones 2 Kickstarter, of course, but and obviously Reaper is much larger than
me.
Yeah. So, but there's also been like EA tried to kickstart a game, and it's like, what are your thoughts upon it?
Yeah, that's
large
bullshit.
Corporation, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing it.
No.
There are no rules that say that, the whole reason that Kickstarter is there is because anyone can do it. And there's a cool kind of libertarian democratic thing going on there where, the ones that succeed will succeed and the ones that won't, won't, right? But the point of Kickstarter is not to, well, number one, let me dispel a couple myths. The point of Kickstarter is not to make money. Now, people have abused, what was the recent one?
Salad?
Yeah, potato salad.
60,000.
Yeah.
Did it actually kick? Is it done?
$5 would have kicked.
Yeah, $5 would have kicked.
I was just hoping that people would
No,
it just kept going.
It kept going and kept going, and it got up to 60,000, right?
Yep.
Is it?
Last I heard,
It kept going up and down.
Yeah,
Or
because he
right.
lost like 30 grand in one day,
Yeah.
right? But and that's people. It's kind of like people abusing the system.
And they ended at 55,000 yesterday.
Yeah.
Was the day kick.
Well, I hope he gets one with the IRS. But that to me, and this is all at this point. It's the caveat. This is John's opinion about it, but it's the same thing as the people who kickstarted the movie. People who kickstarted movies. What? The Veronica Mars movie,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yes, you can do that, but that's not really the point of it. The point of it is, a guy going, I have an idea, and and that's the point of Kickstarter. Now, are people utilizing it in different ways that it wasn't intended to be used? Yes. Is that a moral question? yes. So at that point, it's like, well, how do you feel about that? You know, for me, backing a Veronica Mars movie is really kind of shady.
Who's Veronica Mars?
It was a TV show, and the fans wanted a movie, so the people who own the rights kickstarted a movie.
And I mean, one of the main reasons they did that is so they didn't have to go through someone else, so they could pick what they wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
As opposed to following someone else's rules for the movie.
I mean, Enterprise ain't crap on them, is that?
Yeah, so I mean,
That's
the point of Kickstarter was for the little guy to get his foot in, the door.
Right.
That's the point of Kickstarter. You know, what is Paramount? I love the Arlen Ellison line. What is Paramount going around with a cup with an eye patch going, oh, I need money! You know, come on.
And I think you'll see that there are like outliers on both sides, like people who really abuse it, who aren't big companies like Potato Salad, and then there are the big production companies, the big game development companies that don't really need it as a vehicle, and really use it for pre-sales, not really to fund a project. They have a project already, they just pre-sell it.
You know, and how people are using it, it's a moral question. You know, do you feel kind of weird about it? No. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. You know.
Just don't whine when it fails.
Well, that's a different. Well, if it fails, I mean, who cares,
Yeah.
right? But if it succeeds, and that's another part of it, is that if it succeeds and you don't deliver anything, then you're hurting everybody. You know, that's going up to supreme act of selfishness at that point. To me, the Potato Salad guy damaged the credibility of Kickstarter. For me, whether he did for you or not, that's totally different.
I think people are going to take it less seriously.
Yeah, I think people will take Kickstarter less seriously because of it.
I don't
But,
understand why they didn't take that project down.
Because it didn't violate the rules.
Yeah, he didn't violate the rules.
The project was making potato salad for $5. There were a lot of people that laughed their ass off enough that they're like, I'll just buy you a beer.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, there's really, the rules around Kickstarter, financially, it's stringent, but from a project standpoint, it's very vague.
Yeah.
There are only certain things that they'll really slap you down for, which, if you're trying to sell in bulk or
if you're e-begging,
right,
you're done. But how does the Potato Salad guy not qualify as e-begging? So anyway, I mean, it's a morally gray area.
He tried to say that he had never made potato salad, so his project was to make potato salad for the first time. And I guess by the letter of the rules, it fell in, and it just became a joke because it was a joke in the first place.
Somebody else got any questions? Okay, well, let me just kind of sum up here because a couple people came in late, and I'll just kind of sum up. The whole thing about Kickstarter for me is that it is the way for small publishers and other people. People are making movies. People are making records. I'm dating myself. People making CDs and things. It's a way for them to get the foot in the door. It's a way for me to run my business in a way that, because without it, here is what I do as a publisher without Kickstarter. I write the book. I spend, 6-8 months writing a book. I pay someone to edit the book. I pay someone to lay the book out. I pay an artist to get art. I pay. Then it comes time to print the book. How many copies of the book do I print? Don't know. I have no clue. So, risk. Everything about it is risk. Up to the point that I start selling books. And even then, the whole, everything that I've risked could really just be, just throwing money down the toilet. Could be. What Kickstarter does is communicates to my customers, I'm making this product. Do you want this product? Yes. How many of you want this product? This many. I know, and once I have that number, and I know how much the book is going to cost, I can say, all right, the book is going to cost $20. The people are going to pay $20 for this book. 500 people want this book. Here's my budget. Now I'm going to say, here's how much money I want to spend on art, here's how much money I want to spend on layout, here's how much money I want to spend on this, here's how much money I want to spend on this. I now have a budget. I know exactly how much money I can spend. I know exactly how much money I want to spend, and I know how much profit I'm going to make. You know? And the point of Kickstarter is not profit. The point of Kickstarter is knowing your budget. Right? When people see that we raised $25,000, $27,000 for Wield for a $15 book, people go, "You made $27,000." I went, "No, I made about $500." Everything else, all of that other stuff, is cost. It cost $2,700, $2,650, $500, $26,500 to make the book, to make it the way I want it, right? And to there are so many hidden costs that if you've never made a book, you don't think of. And one of those big hidden costs is shipping. It is so expensive to ship anything. And so much so that I have to consider whether or not I'm going to do international shipping. Because shipping to Italy, one of my projects, shipping to Italy was $30. The book is $15. It's going to cost me $30 to ship to Italy. Do I want to take that? Do I want to take that cost? How do I charge someone $30 for shipping? They're like, "No, I'm sorry, I can't take that cost." I'm like, "Well, then I can't send you a book." And I understand why, but I'm not going to pay that $30. You're not going to pay that $30. How about I sell you a $5 PDF? That's Kickstarter gives you foreknowledge of all the things of everything that you're going to need to know in order to make your project. That's why it's a powerful tool. However, in order to correctly interpret all of the information that Kickstarter gives you, you need a guy who understands how to make that magic spreadsheet that makes the numbers change. You need that guy. And you also need a guy who understands how Kickstarter works. So find that guy, ask him questions, and go forward from there. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have specific questions about things like how we did, I should also say, there's a wonderful tool called BackerKit. Use BackerKit. If you have a large project, use BackerKit. What BackerKit does is it allows you to take all of your backers and organize all the rewards. So you have, and you'd think, "Oh, well, I can do that myself." You really can't, because what happens is that you have a $5 reward, which is the PDF, and then you have the $15 reward, which is the book, or the $20 reward, and then you have add-ons. You have, "Oh, hey, I have wheeled dice. I can throw wheeled dice in." And what'll happen is you'll get a guy going, "Hey, I want the $25 reward, but instead of dice, could I have another book?" Right? And you want to say yes to him, because he's a customer, right? And you shouldn't have to say no to him because you don't want to keep track of that. So instead you have BackerKit, and BackerKit keeps track of that for you. And people can customize their own rewards and do all kinds of stuff. So and BackerKit costs you a little bit of money, but for each of our projects, we did do $27,000 for Wield, and with BackerKit we added another $2,500 onto it because of BackerKit. Because people could go, I was in for $10 and now I want to be in for $25 because I want to get that thing. So BackerKit really helped us out a lot. But you guys have any other questions?
One more about your opinion on, you say this is to get his idea out there, which is really cool. But what about someone that they get their project funded, they make some good money, to get it funded and get it well funded, but then they get bought out by another company. Was Oculus Rift and Facebook?
Yep.
Yep. They went through all that, and I remember a bunch of message boards lighting up. Like, well, you made 5 times your Kickstarter, plus then you got bought out for 10 times that. why don't you give back our money or something?
Why don't you give back our money?
I was seeing that post a lot actually. And
Yeah.
So, but it's just like.
That's stupid people who don't understand how things work, how the world works.
But you know, I was just.
It's like, did you not get the rewards that you asked for?
I don't know, I didn't follow
You know, is that what happened? Is that you didn't get the rewards you asked for? You know, here's the rule. You know, you walk into a door, and on the door are the rules, and you read the rules, and you sign your name on the thing, and you walk in, and all of the rules apply to you, and nobody ever breaks any of the rules, and then you come out the other side and go, I was cheated. See your name here? Shut up.
It's like, you know, not liking the direction something's going is different than, you know, funding it.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they're not made until the Kickstarter is successful because they can't step away from their jobs. Because like me, if I did one, I work 5 days a week. I don't have the extra mental energy sometimes to do much of anything.
For me, for all of my projects, the work was done before the
Yeah.
Kickstarter got started.
But a lot of them, it's obviously not.
Yeah.
Do you think having it done before you actually kickstart might affect the project?
Yes, it definitely affects the project. I now have a reputation among Kickstarter people that John is the guy who delivers ahead of time. He says he's going to deliver in November, and I get my book in September. Right, and the reason is because when we did Wield, the book was done. All the writing was done. All we had to do was layout and art. It's all we had to do. So we started the Kickstarter, and because I have a reputation of a guy who gets Kickstarters done, I contacted Storm Cook, who did the art, and said, Storm, we're doing a book. Want to do art? And he went, yeah. And I said, okay, we're doing the Kickstarter now. Could you start the art now? And then when we kick, we will pay you this much. And he went, yes. Gone. You know, I went to Jessica Caspidas, who does the layout. And I said, Jessica, we're going to pay you this much money to lay out the book. Can you start? And she said, when I get the art, because she's smart. And I said, okay, fine. You know, we're ready to go. You know, and we had, you know, and we contacted, you know, Lightning Source, and we got a quote for the books. You know, how much the book's going to be. Well, we're going to order this many. Okay, well, we'll give you this much. You know, blah blah. All of the work was being, all the real, you know, like production, all the pre-production was done before the Kickstarter started. Then once the Kickstarter started, I was able to do all the production. I was able to focus on the cover, and you know, Storm sent me a sketch, and I went, this is gorgeous. You know, he sent me 3 different sketches, and I want number 2. But I said, I want these little changes, and he was like, great, I'll make those little changes. And then, you know, the interior art came in, and the layout, Jessica showed me a draft of the layout and what that was going to look like. And all of this is going on while the Kickstarter is going. And then when the Kickstarter ended, the book was already ready to go to the printer. So, and because the Kickstarter ended, we collected the money, we paid the printer, we paid the artist, we paid the, you know, layout people, we paid Jill, my co-writer, and it was done, the book went off, and people got books a month later. You know, we listed, you know, because we wanted a window of error in case something went wrong, and which it did. Because the person that we originally hired to do the layout for the book, we were not happy with. And I had to go back and go, okay, we need to use somebody else. And so we used Jessica for the layout for the book. So so that put a delay in our production. But we had a window because, you know, we built a window in there. So instead of getting the book, you know, here's the deadline for us sending out the book. So instead of hitting, you know, here, we hit here, and we were still early.
Oh darn.
Yeah, oh darn. You know, but, you know, for me, that was really important that people got books ahead of time.
Yeah.
And so you know, my next Kickstarter, which is a book called Divine Right. It's an adventure in this setting type thing. The adventure is almost done being written, and we're going to announce it at Gen Con. But the reason I'm going to announce it at Gen Con is because it's like 60% written. You know, and as soon as the writing is done, then I will contact the artist, and I will contact the layout people, and I will contact the editor, and I will go, hey, we're doing a Kickstarter, let's go. And they're like, I'm in. Because, you know, that's the other really nice thing about Kickstarter, is that typically in the game industry what happens is that you're going to publish a game and you're going to do the art for the game, and I said, I'll pay you 90 days after we go to the stores. And the reason for that is because the stores pay 60 days after they get the thing. You know, if they pay you. You know, and the distributors will pay you, you know, if they pay you. Well, we can't afford to pay you this month, but that's okay. And the reason is because we need to buy more Magic cards. They won't tell you that, but that's what they will do. I have a very bad, and one of the reasons I like Kickstarter is because I like selling directly to customers and stores. I love selling to stores. I always put a retailer option in the tiers, because I do not want to undercut stores. I don't. I love my local gaming store, which is Imperial Outpost, which is at Glendale, Arizona, on 57th Avenue in Arizona. It's a wonderful gaming store, and he always backs my Kickstarters, and I always deliver my books by hand. I go, here you go, D, and he puts them up on the shelf and he sells them. But I hate distributors, and the reason I hate distributors is because they lie to me. And you know what? You can say that they can say that they don't. We know they do. It's the way the distributor system works. You know, there's nothing to be done about it, except there is. It's called Kickstarter. I can sell directly to the customers. I can sell directly to the stores, and I can say give a big screw you to the distributors.
What's the adventure for?
It's an adventure in a custom setting. It's called Divine Right, and it's what if the cleric was the most powerful character in the D&D universe? Because in all the other D&D universes, clerics, the gods are spell repositories.
Yeah.
I pray to my god and he gives me spells, and who cares? And I was like, I'm sick of that. I want the world where gods exist.
Yeah.
And you are my chosen one on earth. And and the game's called Divine Right.
You want the earth to quake as it properly should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what if clerics and paladins are the most powerful characters on the planet? Because they should be, because they're the divine avatar, or not the divine avatars, but they're the divine messengers. They have a relationship with the god. So why shouldn't they be the most powerful characters in the game? So anyway, that's what
should be fun.
Yeah.
Probably get the retailer back for that too.
Yeah, it's there it is. Am I lying about distributors, Mr. Retailer Man? I mean, you shouldn't say.
I'm not a retailer, but I know that you're not.
Okay, yeah.
I've
Let me tell you a really quick question, then I have to go because the next guy's getting ready. When we were doing Legend of the Five Rings for AEG, when we first started, we were trying to sell to distributors, and distributors weren't having it. They just would not take it. So we went to game stores, and we went right to the game stores. We said, hey guys, because the best way to sell your game, free advice, the best way to sell your game is to play it. Is to play it with people. If they play it, they will buy it, right? So we went to game stores, and with game store owners, we'd say, this is our game, this is how it played. And they would go, oh, this is fun, the art is great. Oh, there's a story to go along with it. Oh, this is awesome. And they would go, yeah, and you can get it from X distributor. And then they would call X distributor while we were in the store, and we're hanging out with customers and talking and chatting. And he would go, and I remember this very distinctly, and he would go, really? Really? Huh. Okay, 1 second. And he said you're out of business. And he doesn't have any copies of your game. And John Zinser would go, give me the phone. Hi. We're out of business. And you don't have any copies of your game. How about the 3 cases I shipped you last week? Because what happened was eventually we're like, distributors wouldn't take it. We went, I'll tell you what, you can have it for free. And if store owners buy it, let us know. But you can have it for free. Right? And then we went to stores. We literally got a list of game stores across the country, and we drove all the way from LA all the way over to Boston and hit game stores. And they would call up the distributors, and the distributors would be like, yeah, we don't have any copies of that. Hi. I know you have copies of it. How do I know? I'm the owner of the company. Right? That's my experience with distributors. So I was like, screw up. So anyway, That's my Kickstarter thing. Thank you very much for showing up. And hey, it's time for the next guy. So
Kickstarter name is just John Wick or?
yeah, John Wick.
Alright,